Welcome to episode number 2 of Rock and Roll Weirdos with Paul Tate,
Abby
co-host Abby Whites.
It's not Abby White's Tate.
I was wondering if people were thinking about that.
Abby
all I'm
White's
thinking
Tate. What? Why? Who says that?
But you didn't hyphenate
No, I never even changed my name.
for your mans?
And extra special guest.
Christopher Big Head Fasulo.
Yeah, that's me. Middle name. I'm hyphenating to that. Well, hello, lady and
It's
gentlemen.
a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
The pleasure is all mine after hearing the wonderful first episode.
Thanks.
We really kissed his ass on that one.
We did.
It was nice.
We were like,
It was
let's
nice.
tee this up.
I feel like it was like every person that never gave Fasulo credit, like the amount of credit that you got in the last one kind of makes up for like all the jerks who never like really credited you or, you know?
We were listening in the as we were like going to sleep, so I had the TV muted, and I'm like, yeah, that's wrong. No, that didn't happen. Oh yeah, that did happen, but you forgot this. I was correcting you, of course, as
Really?
we were going.
Like what? Do you remember anything
you-
specific?
There were some amalgamations of things.
Like what?
I forgot. There was one. I should have written them down.
Are you saying I
I should have written them
exaggerated?
down. No. You just like either skipped over or like you didn't mention. You said the EP was 5 songs. It was only 3.
No,
Huh?
but I was talking about the first song we did. So here's the deal. I'm so ADD
No,
that I left
Yeah,
out
yeah,
like
yeah.
half the story because I kept going on like 16 tangents. So
Yeah, and then Paul. I gotta compliment Paul.
he is
wrangling
so
you
good
back.
at that. I was like, oh my God. No wonder
Really good.
like we make such
Really
a good
good.
husband and wife. I feel like you're the wrangler.
I said being married to Abby has made Paul a good interviewer.
I think it's definitely helped. I feel like MacGyver, disarming a bomb with like a stick of gum and a battery or something.
All it takes is a Diet Coke.
It's true. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, what do you have to hold up and like, Abby?
I've got
no,
one right now. This is like
shiny object. Woo.
It's true. But Chris, the last one I was talking about how like I had that like account of money and I ended up that's how I paid for the EP, but I never actually got those words out because I was so
yes,
oh
you
my God,
started
it was
that.
like every other story led to another story, which then led to another story and story of my life.
Yeah. Can I give you my present?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Hold on. Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4. Rock and roll weirdos, rock and roll weirdos, rock and roll weirdos.
Holy
Oh my God.
Oh my God, that's fucking
Fasulo,
awesome.
I mean, except for the fact that I sound like a total dude, but what else
Don't
is
worry,
new?
I tuned you and everything. Don't worry.
Dude. That's insane. Oh my God.
Wait, can you play it once more?
How long did that take?
I don't know. How long did it take? Hour.
An hour.
It took me an hour only because I figured out the key, but then when I recorded it, I played I did bass and guitar, and then went, wait, this is the wrong note, so I had to do everything again.
Oh,
Wait,
my God.
also,
Do you want to hear this again?
yeah,
Yeah.
please.
1, 2, 3, 4. Rock and roll weirdos, rock and roll weirdos, rock and roll weirdos.
Yo, that's
Holy
so
That is so good.
It's so funny. Every time I'm so used to like clapping when I laugh, and I guess
Yeah.
I clap like pretty hard, and it's picking up in the mic like crazy.
You're into it.
I am.
You should
Chris.
get that mic that doesn't pick up claps.
That's a thing.
We really need to like look at our equipment. Oh wait, was that a joke? But wait, where were we going? Oh, microphones. Yeah. So we're still sharing the Blue Yeti, and it's like
Oh my
it's
God.
really good.
I remember when you were looking these up, like to buy this mic,
Yeah.
weeks.
I mean, I still have the Apogee one, and I'm like, if we had the duet,
Yeah, you don't have to bring Jews into this,
I
okay?
was just
Abby
gonna
does this
say,
to
what
me
do they
every
have to do
time.
with anything?
Wait, no. One time when we had first moved in together, he was like, he goes
No,
to
I
me,
said, I was like, hey, when's the rent due?
and I said,
Bless you.
I called my mom and I was like, Mom, Paul just said, where's the rent, Jew?
I'm fucking scrambling in the background. Wait, that wasn't what I said.
Look what you did, you little jerk.
Look what you did, you little jerk.
Is that you?
That was me. Surprisingly.
All right, so let's
Don't
say,
worry, hey, I'm practicing my American accent. I'm gonna become just like you guys. You won't notice me in a crowd.
Your phone dead.
I'm gonna blend in with this accent. Hello, can I please get an order of Coke and fries and a burger, please?
Why do you make yourself sound like a grandpa?
I don't
It's
know.
weird.
I-
The whole tone of your
Yeah.
voice changes.
How do you?
No.
I need to like.
It's like he turns into an old man.
Wait, I need to
It's
just
like when Eddie Murphy does a white guy voice. So you say.
yeah. Oh, excuse me. Do you have the time? I need to like.
That was, what was that?
That was
That's
the white
British,
guy.
Paul.
Oh, see, this is why I'm not an impersonator.
Well, I am, and I am
Oh,
here.
Abby's is the best. Abby goes back to like Victorian England or like Oliver Twist. More, sir, could I have more? You know, like more. Yeah. And then I need to learn not to like. What if I just did the R's? So like I was like, R. Oh, I gotta park the car.
Are you a pirate?
Yeah, I'm just gonna stop. I'm gonna stop. Yeah.
Abby,
Yeah.
did you hear that somebody that we know got possessed by an owl?
What? Are you fucking
you
with me
hear-
right now?
Did you hear? I'm asking you a question. Did you hear that somebody we know got possessed by an owl?
Was it you? What does that mean? How do you get possessed?
Was
by
it Get
an owl?
Wiesel with Zeisel?
What?
You know the owl on the TV? I'll stop talking now.
Abby, it's a simple question. Did you hear someone we know got possessed by an owl?
I understand the question you're asking, but it doesn't make sense. So actually, I don't understand the question you're asking because I'm not sure how someone is possessed by an owl.
I know, but even if you don't understand that part, you don't know which person it is.
Is it Wise Girl? Because
No.
like Wise Potato Chips has the owl mascot.
I told this joke to like 30 people, and you're the only idiot that can't say the right answer.
Possessed by an owl. Can you just tell us the fucking answer?
Well, he went to Hooters or something?
You're close. Abby, you're supposed to say who.
Oh. Who?
Yes. Oh, must be Abby.
How did you get into like producing? Like not just engineering, but like all of the like I don't know. I always really loved your like psychotic OCD style because I'm similar, even though we're OCD about different things. But how did you get into actually producing?
I'm gonna say that for
really quick, can you explain the difference between an engineer and a producer? Because I feel like there's a huge misunderstanding
Okay.
when it comes to both of those terms. And I feel
Well,
like I try and explain, but to like other people, and it's hard to explain to people who don't really understand music or are not musicians or haven't worked with a producer.
right, even me, right. People who haven't worked with the producer. Well, it depends what kind of music you're talking about. That it has different meanings. Just like a TV show producer is different than a music producer. Sorry, a hip hop producer is the guy that makes the beats, basically, does all that stuff. A regular pop rock producer can be anything from the songwriter, the arranger, the musician as well. You said it kind of in the last one where you were
Yeah.
saying trimming the fat. Paul like gave me a really nice compliment. I'm like, oh, thanks, Paul. It was something about knowing. I can't remember. Just try this. I always said that there's a rock band that I love, and I always said that they didn't have a producer because they do this one part too many times. There's always a part in the song. It's like, okay, that's enough of that part now. If you're trying to be a pop producer, then you want to get to the public as quickly and as easily as possible. If you are a progressive rock producer, then you want to just show off the musicianship of whoever's there. So it really depends on the kind of music, but working with you and even with Paul, I guess the best example is you gave me a song once with just an acoustic guitar and a vocal.
Wait, once? That was like every song.
Well, yeah, we did that a lot, but it was like the first one, and
Yeah.
I listened to it, and I'm like, okay, we could go. That's the first job. Like, what are we doing with this? What kind of style song is it going to be? You played it very slow, and it turned out to be a very fast song because you just happened in conversation. Well, I was listening to it and already like thinking in my head, we could do this, we could do that, and maybe that part's bass, maybe that's just guitar or whatever. And then you said, I want it to sound like so-and-so song, the almost so-and-so song. And I said, oh, okay. So I listened. It was a song that you had just found that we both loved. We both got really into, right? I'm thinking of the right band, right?
Yeah, the Almost. I remember I got into them around like 2012, 13. And I remember.
I told you that Dan Corneff did their first one, mixed their first record, right?
No.
Yeah, the one before the one Monster.
Yeah,
the one that
I
we
loved
got
some of the
into.
songs on that one too. It's
Yeah.
so good.
But you said I wanted to sound. I was thinking something like this, so I listened to it. I'm like, oh, cool, and just like listening to it without stealing, just interpolation. That's the big word going around. I see it on TikTok all the time.
Really? Not
Interpolation.
inspiration?
No, interpolation is when you. That's the thing. The big Ed Sheeran case that just happened that
Okay.
he won. It's like it sounds. There's a fine line between stealing, inspired by, and interpolation. So an interpolation is like another version of it, or what's the word?
Continuation?
Variation
Oh,
on
okay.
a theme. That's a big classical thing. A variation on a theme. So you start with like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and then you riff on the second time around, and it turns into something different. But it started with that. So
Do people say tribute as well? Like, it was a tribute.
No, that's not the
yeah,
same.
but tribute is like, let's do this section exactly like the band in the style that a group would do it in.
Oh,
Interpolation is like, you got to follow this guy on Instagram. I'll send him to you. He's awesome. He goes, this is from this, and then this turned into this, and then this band did it before this, and this group, and it always goes back to like the 50s or the 40s, and it's something like completely current and popular that was lifted like 4 or 5 times, and just kind of like the telephone game with a melody or with a riff. But anyway, you gave me this song, and you said, and it was something I wouldn't have even thought of. And just saying that quickly, it wasn't even like you were harping on it. It was just a quick little by the way. And then I listened to the song and looked at your thing a whole different way, and then made all the music to it and sent it to you. And you're like, oh yeah, this is cool. Or can we try this or try this? And there was a couple times where I think it's the same song. I'm just giving examples that you'll know, because I know I have to keep your attention about
I
producing.
mean, so far you're actually doing a really good job.
Oh, thank you.
It's
There-
rare.
There's another one that you gave me the song and you like slowed it down, and I'm like, no, that sounds really boring, because the song will get boring right there. So we made this really weird. What song is it? Be cool if you could splice in the songs.
Was it
as
that
we're
song
talking about.
Alarmed Again?
No. It's from the record. I'm not ready. And that part in the middle,
yeah.
like that little dissonant thing that you always couldn't play when we played live.
Oh my God. I feel like
You know what
half
I'm
the
saying?
songs, you're like, just play this on guitar. I'm like, I don't know what that is. You're like, it's a Weezer chord. This is a Weezer chord. I was like, what the
the best
fuck
way
are
you'd
you
know it.
talking about?
But it turned in from this really like you wanted like a slow breakdown in the middle of this rock song, and it didn't work. So instead of making it slow, we made it double time, and it was cool. It worked out cool, and it opened up the song. So that's like a producer move.
Yeah.
Or why don't we? I remember in a rehearsal there was a bass player we had, not Paul. He was great with the band, but he was cranky all the time. Just for I don't know whatever reason, but he was like funny cranky. I said there was a part in that same song, and I said in the second time it does it once, and the first time's twice. He's like, "Ugh, that is such a producer thing." I'm like, "Exactly, it is, and that's why it's cool."
I feel like that's so funny because then, like, I feel like so many people were, and we talked about this in the last episode, just like not really like up for feedback or kind of like doing it the way that it was like supposed to. And I remember when you joined the band and begging you were like, I don't have time. I don't know how I broke you down, but I did. And just like we both were similar where we didn't want like to have an amazing record and then live it sounds like shit. So we would like wanted to the like live version to sound as much like the record as possible. Obviously, while like we would throw in some certain things at live shows that weren't on the record, you know what I mean? But we were like really both focused on like let's let the live production be just as good as the record, which obviously it'll never be exact.
Right.
Especially with like we're who were we? It's not like we're like playing MSG or
Right.
But that's something that was really important to me, and it's funny because I feel like a lot of musicians don't care about that, and it always drove me nuts. And when Paul joined the band, actually, I feel like he learned every song note for note, and that was one thing he said in the last in the last podcast, saying that
that's the compliment I was talking about. That's the compliment.
Full circle,
He's like,
baby.
Yeah, look at that. You're such a good co-host. There you go. You just earned your stripes.
Listen, I'm the host. He's my co-host.
Excuse me.
Oh, I see.
I registered the domain name. I would like to say that.
So yeah, you said you complimented the bass lines, which is again, that's as a producer, that's one thing that I do, but that might not be, what every other producer does. I started to say at the beginning of this, and I'm going to go back to what you said about the bass, but you and I are similar because we're both control freaks. That's what it boils down to. There's a lot of producers who are just kind of standing. A lot of older studios used to have producer desks and a spot where the producer sits right directly behind the engineer and kind of calls out the shots like a television director. But they'll also say, well, if you're engineering, you're setting up the drums or whatever, I want it to sound a little more like this. So they'll describe something and then the engineer goes and does it and then turns and goes, is this good? And I never wanted to be the is this good guy.
No.
How does that sound? Are you happy with this? Kind of like when it sucks and someone goes, yeah, I think it sounds great. And you're like, well, that sucks. Let's try it like this. And that's kind of how I got into being a producer. Like a band goes, yeah, that's good. I'm like, no, that sucks. Your guitar's out of tune. Why don't we try it like this? And that kind of turned into the opposite thing for engineering, where you tell someone to go do something and it's easier to just go do it yourself. So there are many, many people who do just engineering or just producing, and there's people that do both things.
And then what about, I know there are some people who are like notorious like vocal producers and stuff like that.
Yeah, I did that on a couple records actually. With so that's a really good example. Good jumping off. Good springboard right there. I don't forget, Paul, to make me go back to your compliment because it was a good one. But
right, you gave him enough.
I'm
You already gave him enough.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
No,
Excuse
I
me.
liked what Paul said, and it was something to what you said. But there's a band I really love. One of these records is a metal record, and the engineer for I was hired on records to engineer, but I basically ended up producing parts of it, but never got credit for it, which happens all the time.
Of course.
So this metal record had an engineer and a producer that also engineers, but the engineer that was on the record credited went and produced another friend of mine's band. Not now he was the producer and engineer, but it was like a more pop rock record, and he made it sound like a little metal, but he wasn't that good at producing that stuff. There's stuff that the songs are great and the material was there, but he just couldn't like connect with it. And then when they did vocals, the guy that they were gonna have sing the vocal, it was like a guy from a big metal band that played guitar and wrote these songs, and he wanted to just find a singer to sell these songs, to do something with these songs. And the guy that played drums was like dying to sing on it because he was a great singer, and they just knew that he wasn't the right guy for it or whatever. And he finally got them down to where they were at a deadline and said, okay, you could do it. So I worked with them, and they told me what they didn't like about his vocals. So I ended up just producing, I'm air quoting, his vocal sessions. We did it together, just me and him, without the original producer and without the guys in the band. And when the guys in the band heard it, they were like, they couldn't believe it because it didn't even sound like him. He was very, not monotone, but he had one dynamic.
Yeah.
So we spent hours and hours and a long time. And once he got the hang of like this new type of style for him to sing in, and this new approach really is the word, 5 other songs, they just kept going. Like, oh, let's just do that thing again. And I'll do this here and whatever. And I'm being vague because I'm trying to not be boring. But it just, it got me other work to vocal produce, to just do that. But yeah, there are guys that I've got hired just to engineer guitars or reamp guitars. So everyone's got like a weird kind of specialty. I don't remember what your original question was. I'm sorry.
That's cool.
No, well.
Oh, I was using the example. Sorry, you were talking about different producers, and I was using the example of this guy not being specifically for this record, which happens with me. I'm doing a record right now with 2 other engineers in the band, and it's like I got a note the other day, plus 1 dB on the hi-hat. I'm like, dude, like there's no way anyone's gonna hear that at all.
That's
like,
just someone trying to get their voice in, you know?
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, just say, make the hi-hat louder. You don't have to give me increments and frequencies. You know what I mean? No one ever speaks to me like that. You know, it takes another engineer like to be quote on the level with you, and I made it like 5 dB louder because you don't even hear a 1 dB bump. It was just like so you get that same kind of thing. And there's a reason why he didn't produce the record. You know what I mean? He's in the band.
Definitely.
Wait,
and his nickname is now 1 dB hi-hat increase, right? Oh, who's working on this session? Oh, it's great. We got Jimmy, Tommy, Donnie. Oh, we got 1 dB hi-hat as well.
I love the names you use. They're just not even generic names.
Jimmy and Tommy? That's pretty generic.
Yeah, maybe for Long Island, but I don't even know one Jim here in the city.
I mean, I could scroll through my text and find 5 different Jimmies.
Well, that's also, I feel like, a metal band name.
Jimmy.
Like anyone who's in a metal band, their name is most likely Jimmy or Tommy. Am I wrong?
That's
Are
right.
you laughing?
Yes. Very wrong. But I did have a Tommy in my metal band.
I know. I met him.
Oh, that's right.
I feel like I met all of your band people.
Wait, I want to go back to the OCD thing.
Yeah.
And Paul had it too. Like Paul, the bass thing I played the bass on the record too. And I was very specific. You told the story about other bass players that came through the band.
Gosh.
Yeah.
2 different women bass players. Well, actually, we had 3 different girl bass players. 1 auditioned and 2 different that were in the band.
And then we had multiple guys also.
Yeah, you mentioned the one guy, right?
Oh my God, yeah. I remember being with you the next day and showing you that text I got
Oh
that
yeah,
guy.
the guy with your butt.
Yeah, you were dying. I was like so uncomfortable.
No, I was. You also mentioned your friend that plays guitar that played bass for us, and then decided to do a solo in the middle of a show.
Wait, I don't think I mentioned that in the thing.
Oh, okay.
I want
know what
to now.
you're
I want to
talking
hear
about.
that.
Are you talking about the one who fell into the drum set at practice because he was so drunk?
Yeah. I thought you mentioned him in the last one.
I
you
did
give him
not. I did not. He's
All right,
sober
don't-
now, actually. I think he's like
Don't
8
say his first
years
name then.
sober.
Don't say
I'm
his
not.
first name.
I'm not. He.
But Paul's compliment was that what was great about what Paul said was that he recognized that the stuff was cool and didn't want to take away from it. So the fact that he sat and rehearsed and like note for note, and he said, correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, but you said you said something about basically you're not like the music theory guy, right?
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
No, exactly. I feel like I mean, it's different. When we did the Meteorite stuff, that was fun because it was like, oh, I was coming up, with the bass stuff. But like, I feel like when Abby was like, okay, here's the files, like, take a listen
For Wise Girl.
for Wise Girl, and I think they were so good, but like to the point of, I feel like I just hadn't really, well, I never played that kind of bass, and I feel like I honestly, you know what I mean? It was like one of those things. I loved when Abby was like, oh, it's, and this is our producer, and in my head, you know what I mean? Like, you're just like, oh, what's it gonna be like, and then I remember looking at it and I was like, I have my work cut out for me, and exactly like you said, like, I didn't want to take any shortcuts or go, oh, this could be
Right.
this. I was like, no, this is like the record, like it sounds, you know what I mean? It doesn't need anything modified. Just learn that. And I just
Right.
and I just feel like it was a little bit easier said than done. But
Right.
I got there in the end. Yeah.
The first time I played with you, it was like, God, why didn't we have Paul like 10 years ago?
That's
Probably
That's
would've
what you
saved
said.
us.
You were like, where have you been hiding this guy?
Yeah, like what?
I was
Like it would have saved us so much heartache and headaches.
I was hiding him under my bed.
You guys, yeah.
No, Paul
But yeah,
actually,
but-
Paul
but-
Paul came out to see us play.
Yes, that I remember.
saw you guys
Bowery
at Bowery
Electric,
Electric.
right?
Yeah, Bowery Electric in like
And then
2011.
knitting a factory.
That
he used
knitting
to come
factory
out-
was good, but I remember the bass player then had a big matzo ball mistake. Oof. It
Oh,
was
yeah.
Really?
right. The show was like a 98%, and then he just he had
I
a
think
big fuck up.
it threw me off too.
Yeah, everything was
vocal-wise. I
perfect.
was so upset. I remember.
Yeah,
It was
I
Little White Lies, right?
I don't remember.
I remember.
I do remember something that you said about, I hate pumping up your head and making it even bigger about being a girl. But you were talking, I was like narrating the thing while I was talking to Janet. You did get like some really creepy dudes. Like you'd meet them, and then when they saw you play, forget it. You like hit the switch in their brain, and they were like, texting about your ass.
Oh
Sorry,
my
Dad.
God. Stalkers. I definitely.
Yeah,
I
it
forget-
was weird.
Well, that's why I remember when I changed my like Facebook thing to Abby Lauren, because that's my middle name, because I didn't want people to be able to find me anymore, like strangers, because I would get these creepy messages of like random people who had maybe like heard us on Spotify or just like listened to an interview, like a radio thing we did or something, and just write these really creepy things. And it's just like, it's so funny because it's like, fuck, who am I? I'm like literally nobody. But like at the same time, you're like, damn, like what if this person showed up to like a show and tried to like get aggressive? Like it's
Well,
scary.
there's this thing too. When I started teaching at the college, there was that one of the Janet's heard these stories like 20 times. But there was a guy that I used to work with. He was actually a teacher when I was a student, and then I was working with him. And he said it was like orientation day, and he said these people, guys, girls, are gonna look at you like a rock star. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm just an idiot. Like I could barely speak to people, but I'm gonna go be a teacher now.
You're like, yeah,
And-
my head is too big for my body. Like, what's the deal?
I think that my neck and body are just too small for my head.
I think that's it. That's the truth.
But I remember we were on our way to a room to meet with all the freshmen, and standing there, I was introduced as one of the professors in the department, and already like that same friend leans over to me. He's like, "Yo, that girl right there is checking you out." I'm like, "What?" I was very oblivious, and I'm looking around, looking at the guy speaking, and then I kind of like focus on her, and she's looking right at me. I'm like, "Holy shit, you're right." And within like the first couple weeks, just people are, "Oh, professor," and they look at you like guys and girls, like this weird kind of pedestal thing. So
Yeah.
when you would go and play decent on guitar.
Oh, whatever. You said it. The truth came out, man. You can't turn back now. You can't.
When you were competent on your instrument and singing and dancing and shaking your tuchus.
Dancing? No, I don't dance. That's why I played a fucking guitar, because what else would I do with myself singing?
Well, you do the guitar player dance. We all do the dance.
But it's not really a dance. It's like
pick up the guitar, you
you're
do
not
the
fucking
dance.
doing ballet, Abby. No one's confused. Don't worry.
Listen, we're going to bring this. Wait, can we pause, or do you want to finish what you're saying, and then I'll tell my quick little...
I would love to finish a thought.
Okay, finish your thought.
I love it, Abby.
on,
Let's
Paul.
hit the pause. Abby's like, "Can we hit pause? What pause? This is live, baby. This is rock and roll weirdos. Anything
Paul,
can happen."
wrangle
I
your
just
host
meant-
in, would you?
I would just meant, like, can he pause? Is he going to remember, like, to go back to the subject if I interrupt?
Chris is so intelligent. He would remember in 2 years that he had to go back to that.
Can
That's
I just
not
say it's one
intelligence, though, because I have ADHD and I don't remember anything, and I'm intelligent. Okay, gosh!
Yeah, you are.
Yes, Abby, you're
Yes.
very
Yes.
smart.
Yeah.
Real quiet.
Yes.
Lots of crickets right
Yes,
there.
Queen.
What I was saying is when you would get up there and shake your tuchus around and play guitar,
I didn't do that, but okay.
all of a sudden, guys would look at you very differently. Even girls would look at you differently too. But it turns into this thing, this like stalker mentality. I remember at that same knitting factory show, I had to save you from some creepy dude talking to you. It was really weird.
God, he like wouldn't leave me alone. And I remember that was the guy I referenced where I was smoking a cigarette outside a bar like a few days before. And I was like, yeah. And this guy's like, yeah, what do you do? And I was like, wasted.
Oh, right.
Yeah. That was the exact person I was talking about. And like my parents were there. Like I felt so uncomfortable.
Right.
I think.
Well, he didn't believe that you. Oh, yeah, that's cute, sweetie. You play an instrument in a rock and roll band, and you got up there and killed it. And he was like, "Oh my god!" So
He was like,
it
"You
was
must
weird.
be
So I
mine."
did-
We played another show where there were this guy literally looked like a Abercrombie and Fitch model. Fitch.
Not a bird.
All right, whatever. Clearly, I don't shop at that
Remember
store.
that song? Oh no. Okay.
But like, dude got so aggressive. I was like, I remember pretending like other friends that were guys of mine were like my boyfriend, and he was like grabbing me and like, it was so. It's like
You flipped the switch. You flipped the perp switch.
it's so weird, and I am such an anxious person as is. It's so funny because I was like, I don't know. I always like get along with guys as friends. I feel like I always got along with guys, but like I always also felt like, not all of them, but around some of them felt really nervous because
Yeah.
you don't know what they're gonna do. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I've had so many weirdos are like, my gosh, like, you know, just like they can get aggressive, and it's scary when people, you know.
It's weird. Like, I hate to say this, but I'm going to say this phrase: on the other side of the coin. I don't know why it annoys me when people say it, but I just said it. But
So
like,
deep, Paul.
right? And then, but it's like if you're a guy, it's unfair because obviously you could still have that level of stalkerish or whatever.
Like you stalked me.
Yeah, but it's just always going to be different.
No, he didn't stalk you. He
I
liked you.
I walked into that. I was.
He stalked me, Fasulo.
He pursued you, and you gave.
I just happened to be at the same places that I knew you were going to be at.
Paul, I'm trying to stick up for you. Don't
Yeah,
say any
I
more
know,
words.
Are you kidding? I would run into him at my bars when we were
Okay.
when we were hanging out. I was like, I brought
Right.
you to my bars, and then I would
Okay.
then we stopped talking for a little or fizzle out, whatever. And then I'd run into him and I'm like, and he'd bring dates there. I'm like, are you trying
Hey,
to make
it's a
me
free
jealous?
country, right? My First
That's right,
Amendment.
Paul.
You know?
It was so weird, but then it worked out in his favor.
But what I was going to say, on the other
You
side
mean
of
your
the coin,
favor?
No, his favor. Both of our favor.
it was mutually beneficial.
Yeah.
Yes.
But no, I feel like it does suck because I feel like guys are obviously way more creepy. And I feel like the amount of gigs I remember playing, and well, then again, I wasn't like the fucking singer guitarist, but like it's now an empty hall and I'm like bundling up cables with my bass amp on like a little pickup cart. You know what I mean? Like, I feel
Yeah.
like it's, something gets activated, I think, by probably especially for guys, women as well, I imagine, but like,
Well, you know, again, not to blow Abby up. Abby is what did you say about yourself? I like to call her just a big bitch, but you know, she's like 9 feet tall. Like she makes a statement, so it flips the the switch.
Well, I also think
Yeah.
because I don't know, like, wait, did you say you were, you said before you met me, you were intimidated by me, but then once you started talking to me, you were
Yeah.
like, oh, and I
Well,
feel
yeah.
like,
Because you're a big loudmouth.
yeah.
well, also I feel like though, like I genuinely like try to make people feel comfortable in my presence. No, not you, but like, no.
You're nice. You're a nice person.
Yeah, I'm
for the
not. That's
most
what I
part.
mean. Like being kind, being warm, like smiley. And I think maybe also some people like maybe take it the wrong way.
Right. You also got that thing that well, I'm gonna speak for you, but you know, I didn't become comfortable with myself until later in life. So I kind of like make up for that because I have maybe like 10, 15 years ago, you make up for that having the confidence to talk to people, and you were very shy and, as you said in the other thing, awkward. You talked about your
Yeah.
bar mitzvah
My bod,
hair and,
bod,
and dress and
BAT.
stuff. And I've seen some of those pictures of younger you, and
Oh god.
that's what your contact picture is on my phone.
Oh my god.
You look like a young Bette Midler.
You are beautiful no matter what
Yeah,
they say.
But you know what I'm saying? So people mistake you being comfortable and outgoing for, oh, she's into me.
Yeah. Agreed. Like times 1,000. But I think I just was, I don't know. I enjoy other people's company. You know, I like talking to people. That's why I do what I do, you know?
You enjoy the company of multiple men?
No, I like talking to people. I
Multiple
like conversing.
suitors?
I don't know. I mean,
Multiple courting?
I guess, yeah. You know what? Back then, I loved it. I loved it,
No,
and I
that's-
hated
that's-
it at the
It must
same
be
time.
nice after
Abby,
having
that's what I'm
an absence.
that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
Is that
but I didn't like it at the same time because I would get really anxious. You know me. I remember after band practices, sitting in your car for like 2 hours, and we would practice from 8 to 11, no, 9 to 12. And then me and Chris would sit in his car for like 2 hours from like 12 to 2, parked in front of my apartment, just like talking about things going on in our lives, like who we're seeing, what's going on. And I feel like I would tell you so many, and I was very insecure, you know, but I knew how to talk to people, you know, I knew how to make it look like I wasn't, but deep down inside, I think it's so funny because I was always really insecure, and now I look back at pictures and I'm like, fuck, I was so hot. Like, why was I so hard on myself? You know?
Yeah.
You're like, yeah. Wish you could say the same about yourself, right?
Fuck yeah. Huh? Wait, what? About myself? Yes.
I said you
goddamn.
wish you could say the same thing about yourself, right?
Well, I can now.
I know. It's so funny. I remember like crying to one of my neighbors when I was like 25, and she was just like, Abby, you're going to look back on this time and literally look at pictures of yourself. And she was a lot older than me. She was like in her late 40s, early 50s. And I was 25. And she was like, you're going to like want to slap yourself in the face for like feeling this way about yourself.
I'm sure I told you the same thing because I am a little bit older than you.
Yeah, a lot.
I wanted to ask you guys something because I feel like Abby and Chris were like throughout Wise Girl, you know what I mean? Like people came and went, but you guys were like the nucleus kind of thing.
We were
But,
like the Gene and Paul.
You guys are the Gene and Paul, exactly.
That's a Kiss
A
reference.
Kiss
Abby.
reference.
I know. Bitch.
Just recently, Chris, I learned Detroit Rock City on bass.
Nice.
All right, but let's talk about Gene and Paul and Nick Chris.
No, but what I wanted to say was, like, you guys talked about, like, initially working with Chris and starting working on songs. I would love to know, like, I still don't know, like, where was, like, the first gig and, like, how did that go? Like,
I talked about it literally on the last podcast.
You did?
But Chris didn't play our first gig. He came to it.
I can't. Right.
Yeah.
So what happened was. So, and I say this with love. Abby's strength is songwriter and singer, not guitar. Right? Abby,
I
can I
feel
say
like
that?
Abby's-
I never claimed. I didn't play.
I didn't say you claimed. I'm
okay.
saying I'm complimenting you.
Oh, thank you.
Are my strengths singing? Definitely not.
No.
Oh. How's this sound? But
No. I'm sorry. Your strength was the mini keyboard when you were trying to tell me what harmonies to sing. Bang, bang, bang. He's still laughing.
Yeah.
What about my solo, my keyboard? I actually have my first and only. First. There's another keyboard solo I played on someone's record that we shall not speak their name.
Okay.
But yeah, a keyboard solo. But no, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is Abby was still paying for everything when I first met you with the band.
Yeah.
Once you got the band together, it was you, a drummer, and
Bass.
a bass player that lived in the city, and apparently Long Island's like another country, so no one can get out there. So you had the 3 songs, and you were gonna play bass. I believe that you were gonna play
Really?
bass.
No, I wasn't. On what?
Well, what's their face was not gonna come out. I guess maybe I was just gonna do it then.
yeah,
So I
were.
ended up playing bass, and then Abby had money but not a giant budget, and there was a time crunch and a money crunch. So, and this happens with many bands where I'm like, can I see that guitar for a second? Is it supposed to go like this? And then you just play it.
Yeah.
Usually happens.
Literally
So,
every time.
so that's what happened.
But there was
I
one
ended
that
up,
you couldn't get the hang of. What was it? I did it.
No, you started to, and then we didn't do that.
Yeah, we didn't know. You're right.
And
You're
the
like,
reason
what the
why
hell are
I
you even
couldn't get the
doing?
hang
I
of
was
it-
like, I don't know.
The reason why I couldn't get the hang of it was because I didn't want to. Shh, that's a producer secret, Abby.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's real. No,
That's a
he's
tip.
just playing cool. He couldn't do it.
No,
it's
I'm
like
really
you
not.
do it. It didn't sound good though, so it doesn't matter. It worked out
Right.
for the best.
And
but
I knew it wouldn't sound good, so I had you do it. Why don't you try it, Abby?
Look at
Studio
this.
psychology,
Tips from the trade. Tips
101.
of the trade.
So, I remember exactly what song that was. By the way, we
Me
did
too.
have a trouble.
Wasn't
We
that
had
leave
trouble.
me out of it?
Yes.
Yep.
I'll talk about that in a second. That's a good story. But so I ended up playing all the stuff for you, and then you said, "Why don't you just play in the band with me?" And I said, "No, I can't." Blah blah blah. And then I came to see you play, and it was cool. It was cool seeing you on stage.
Wait, but Chris,
and
you're so wrong. We did the first song together. You did everything. And then I was playing with and then after the first song, before we even did the EP, you don't remember why the bass player didn't play on it? Because she pulled this, I want a percent of publishing. You don't remember this? You were in
Yes.
the band by then.
No, I wasn't,
You were.
darling Abby. When you made the first 3-song EP thing with
Yeah.
the Hokey Pokey song.
Rolls out reverse now. How does it feel?
Yes.
Yep.
That one, and the one I hate playing. What song is
Oh,
that?
Set in Stone. That was not on
Set
the
in
album.
Stone
Yeah.
and Wishful Thinking. I was not in the band when you came to record those. I played everything on it, and then I played in the band. But I do remember that you're right about the bass player story.
But okay, then maybe you joined the band right after
After.
we did
I came
because
to see
I
you
remember.
play.
Yeah, Yeah.
And I was like, it was cool that all your chick friends would come to the shows.
Oh my God, there was
I need to be in
so
this
many.
band.
I know.
You're like, suddenly my schedule freed up.
Yeah, exactly, Paul. You know what I mean, Paul?
No, the best was when I worked at the Breslin, because the owner was friends with like all these like famous people, and their kids worked there, so they would come out. I remember one of them came to a show, Chris, and you were obsessed with her. She's actually like a really famous clothing designer now.
Really?
Sammy? Yeah.
I don't remember. What show
Remember,
was it?
she's like,
She flipped the switch.
no,
She flipped the perp switch?
she looked like she was gorgeous. I think she ended up
Oh, I have
dating,
wonderful taste. as
she
you can
dated
see.
Zac Efron at one point, like 10 years ago or something.
So that was my competition.
That was your competition. You had no chance. Sorry, bud. But you were like obsessed with her. And I remember also who came out, Sean Penn. I used to work with Sean Penn's daughter, Dylan, and she was the best. And I remember she came out to that show. We played at pianos, and like everyone who I worked with at the restaurant.
Yes, I do
Yeah.
remember. That was the first time at pianos, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was the
Yeah.
coolest though, working at a restaurant, because I think majority of people working at a restaurant are just creatives, either actors, musicians, and everyone would just come out and support. Like it was so awesome. Like they just were amazing. It was like a family.
So
FYI.
I want to still try and answer Paul's question because I didn't get there yet.
Okay, but I didn't get to my story either, so let's wrap it up.
Should I go?
right.
I think I'll pop down the road and get like a submarine sandwich while you guys are just riffing off each other.
Sorry, Paul.
So, do you the how was it, Gene and Paul? That was the question, right? So, well, that's how I started playing in the band. Was that I played everything for her, and we did some cool production. And you said something before about the live versus the studio, and I think we had that. You came in with that initial attitude of, well, we can't do it live, and I said, who cares? No one's listening to the live thing right now. Let's make a cool record. And then we adopted like the version live to play like all the parts, all the different parts or whatever. But so I came to see with that show. Then yes, I played, and then we just we trusted each other. Like she put a lot of trust in me, and we started depending on each other with
Well, I
stuff.
also hated being in the studio because I have such bad ADHD and I didn't know back then, but I would be so bored and he would have me come sit there while he did guitars and bass. And I'm like, can you just do them? And I
That's
would
right.
I
That's
text
right.
him the morning of. I'm like, my stomach hurts. I can't come. Can you just do the guitars?
Yeah, no,
without me?
I remember that, and
I
that
know.
actually became much more productive for both of us.
Yeah.
Is that you were like, just go here. She got GarageBand and a little mic, and would send me like an acoustic guitar on one side, the tempo, and a vocal on the other side, and then I would go, "How's this for a song?" You're like, "That's awesome. Here's the next one." It was just,
Wow.
and we just kind of like.
We worked
Abby,
really well together.
Yeah, we did, and you always trusted me there, and I knew that if you said like, "No, I don't like that," it wasn't just you trying to, like you said about that other guy before getting your voice in. You're like, "No, I really don't like that," or I would talk you into it and explain I don't mean talk you into it, just like, well, this is what I'm thinking down the line. Abby, a lot of people, not just Abby, don't have that kind of like, well, this is what it's gonna sound like when it's done. You're like, I just hear what it sounds like now, and then you just started trusting the producer, me, as like, okay, it'll sound good when it's done. And I think 9.8 times out of 10, it always did work.
But
right?
But I also feel like it's really hard to find, like, unless you have a extremely large budget, I should say. Being in a smaller independent band, it's really hard to find people that are not only like competent, but also like I want to say like quote unquote like musically advanced, in the sense of like, I don't know. I remember I had another song I did with another friend, and it sounded so bad what he did. I like went into the studio with him, did all the guitars. I played bass on guitar. I mean, it was just like a demo, but it was just so horrible. And I always felt like people were trying to like change what I was doing
Well, that's that same thing, like getting
Yeah.
their voice, especially when you've worked with somebody else that you were happy with. Everyone feels like, oh, let me get my stink on it.
It's like an
And
ego
I
kind of
never,
thing.
I never, ever, and honestly, in my entire, so I learned from an amazing producer and friend and teacher. And at times I felt like watching him, he would do things just to do things, just to say, well, this was my idea. And I've just like we said, everyone wants their kind of voice heard. And I am humble enough to say, no, that's fucking great just the way you're doing it. Right. Like there's times
Yeah.
where I'm like, no, don't doubt, just like that's first song. Like don't doubt what you're doing. What you're doing is cool. Like maybe we could just do the instrumentation differently, but your idea, there was some like weird chromatic thing in that first song we did together,
Yeah.
which by the way, we've never finished.
Time
We've never
flies.
finished that song. But
Time flies.
yeah, I don't think we ever finished it.
We did.
Oh, we did? Okay.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but like, you know, there's I am smart enough. I always my kind of life philosophy is that I'm smart enough to know what I don't know, and there's many people who don't know that. And sometimes the artist has it. Sometimes it's good. That's a great idea. Like I don't need to fuck with it. So if you're working with someone that's like, oh, you know, they just want to put their stank on. Let's try a bassoon on this part. You're like, dude, it's a punk rock song. What are you doing? Doesn't need that.
That's
not
so
what we're-
no. It's funny that you were talking about like who you learned from, all of that, because I feel like when me and you like parted ways for a couple of years, I did that acoustic EP.
Yep.
I had learned so much from working with you. And I
Totally.
feel like
Yeah.
there were times, because they were more like engineers. And so I remember there would be times where like one of the songs I ended on like a seventh chord. And it was so cool. It was so like Beatlesy. I feel like you always
Yeah.
understood my like Beatles obsession, like melodic, whatever. Like, and I feel like those like a seventh, playing a seventh chord can completely change the mood than just playing it
Right.
normal. You know what I mean? Even just like minors, like more sad, whatever. But I remember arguing with this engineer who was recording me, and he's like, "No, that's not supposed to be it." I'm like, "Yes, it is." And
Well,
he's
that's
like,
a guy that quote unquote knows theory, and he knows that traditionally we don't end on a 7 chord, but like you could find a zillion songs that end like that,
Yeah.
or that jazz ending with that real like weird suspended 11/9 chord or something. I don't know, but it's a really cool like jazzy, almost comical ending.
Yeah.
So yeah, like what's the but that's what I'm saying.
But
Like,
I
what's
feel
the
like
big
that ending was not only like so much more memorable, but that it also was like my quote unquote like tribute to my love for the Beatles, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. And I knew I was right, because I feel like there were times where I've heard it done, and
course.
just like, you know, having worked with you, it was really interesting, just like me being in the producer's shoes, kind of fumbling my way around. I remember I showed up with a toy xylophone.
Yeah, you're very proud of that thing.
Oh my god, it sounds so good.
Didn't we use that on something on the record?
I don't know. No,
No,
I don't
maybe
think
not,
so, because
maybe
I think we used one of your xylophones.
That's what I mean. Like we did use something like that.
You did
someplace.
something with like a brrrr.
Yeah.
But I bought this toy xylophone, and it's in 2 of the songs. And I remember I showed up there, and the engineer was like, "That's a toy. We can't use that." And I'm like,
I have
"Oh,
a
I'm
toy
using
piano
it."
in my studio right now, like the little plastic Fisher Price one. It's
yeah,
awesome.
the blue one.
Yeah.
It's like a little carrying. It has its own carrying case.
No, but I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, so it was amazing, and it sounded so good. You'd never know it was a child's toy. But I remember that engineer being like, "No, you can't." You like kind of laughing at me, and I was like, I'm paying for this. We're
Yeah.
using this." Like,
Well, that's go back to your original question. The difference between a producer and an engineer. Like that's a guy who is usually an engineer
Yeah.
and thinks, "Oh, here's this girl coming in, and she doesn't know." And you know, there are not many. Nah, I don't want to say that. It's going
What?
to come out the wrong way, no matter how I
Just
say
say
it.
it.
I've worked with many women and many men, and there are equal parts good musicians and poor ones, men
Definitely.
or women. So,
Yeah.
wait, Paul, can I tell 2 quick stories?
Yeah, man.
So you were saying the thing about the guy with the 7th chord, how he was arguing.
Whoa.
You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to do that. I was recording this band one time, like a metal band, like a prog rock kind of band. And the guy was one of those overachiever sweeps and arpeggios and shredder kind of guy. And he was playing this outro solo of a song. And he played this note. And it was like I guess the music was supposed to switch from a minor to a major key, or just the one chord hit something, but he didn't really play it with the band. So the harmonics for the major third weren't there. So it was like the same thing. And I'm like, yo, that note sounds weird. And he kept doing it, and I'm like, that note doesn't sound good. He goes, it's the third, and he was giving me the theory. I'm like, bro, I've got 2 masters in music. I know what you're saying, but it doesn't sound good, period, end of sentence. And he couldn't wrap his head around it, and he left it. And every time, it instantly brings me back there. It's bad. It's not a taste thing. It's bad. Like, it's a wrong note. But he couldn't get his head around the idea of the it's supposed to or not supposed to, or it works. In theory, it works. And it was so weird. And I always remember, and that was like in the 90s. That's how long ago it was. And it just, I always think about it because it's like there's definitely it shouldn't be that way. But sometimes it just doesn't sound good. It's supposed to work, but it doesn't sound good.
Was that someone that you were producing? Like,
yes, yeah.
So,
and I can't tell you. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Paul.
No.
I was just gonna say I can't say how many times I'm listening to something, mixing something, and I hear something weird, like something sounds like a wrong note, and then I solo. Just on this reggae record I'm doing right now, I solo each instrument, and each instrument by themselves is correct. But when I put them together, it's wrong. There's a wrong note because one guy's playing this inversion, and another guy's playing a substitution or something. So it doesn't work.
Jeez.
Like the piano and the guitar a lot of times clash because they're all playing different jazzier type of chords other than like a root and a fifth. So I always kind of remember and keep those things in mind that they might sound good by themselves, but when you put them together, it's not going to sound great. Or it's not going to work, period. Yeah. You know?
That must be hard if you're producing someone and then you've kind of like, just say they're like, no, this is how this is good, this should work and everything. And then you're listening to it like, okay, this isn't working. Like, I mean, it must be hard because technically they're paying you, so like you can only kind of push back a certain amount of times before you're like, well, you're paying for it.
And let me tell you that is something that I learned and I just said it to Abby about Abby before. My job, I've had to explain to a couple of clients, one guy in particular who I love and he loves me, but he's a very talented musician and we argue a lot. Yeah. And I have to sit every once in a while, once every couple of years, I have to go, listen, my goal, we have the same goal. I want your shit to be awesome. It's my name going on it. It's your name going on it. I'm not trying to make it my thing. I'm trying to make your stuff. At the end of the day, you're the guy. So it's my job to make you sound great or to make this sound great. So if I'm doing something this way or that way, understand,
there's a reason.
People, right. People don't have that kind of foresight to look a few steps down the road.
There's a method to your madness.
Yeah, well, it's not that, but Paul, your pushback thing is, I've learned there's about 3 times you can say your point, or two times, and then after that, if someone is still sticking hard on it, then that's it. I said hard on, sticking to it, firmly. They then that's it. Then they win. That's it. And then sometimes I've gone back later on in the process, like if we're doing a bass part and it should be this note or that chord or whatever, we're in the mix process and I'll say, listen, this is really not working.
Yeah.
Then they will know, okay, this isn't working. So it goes kind of both ways.
Yeah.
Like, when someone's married to something or when they feel strongly, especially someone like Abby, who's like, yeah, I don't care. That sounds great. Whatever. Do we need that? Okay, that sounds cool. But then you're like, no, I don't like that. I know that you really don't like it. So
Yeah.
to make you happy sometimes, even if I know it sounds bad, to make you happy, I'll keep you happy and to keep the session going. But
Yeah,
later on,
whatever. You would
No.
argue back.
it's not just you. I'm just using you.
I
as the
know.
example.
I'm just saying. I feel like we would fight so much. I mean, like, not like I'm not talking to you anymore, but we would argue so much.
But you
working
guys were
together.
closer, like more like band mates
Yeah.
than, someone that was going in just for like one session. You're never going to see him again or something. Like,
Yeah, that's a good point.
I almost.
someone right.
every-
And every
Sorry. You go.
God, sorry.
Me and Chris are on the same speech path. Though I was just gonna say, and this is totally out of left field, but it popped into my head when you were like, I'll ask them like 3 times, maybe 2 times, and then it's like, all right. It reminds me of like if you're at a party or something and you're talking to someone and you really can't hear them, and you ask them to repeat it, and they
Yeah.
repeat it, and then you ask them to repeat it again, and you still don't get it. It's like you are now in a position of like you just have to go with it, like.
That's the
Yes,
story of my
100%. That's a
life.
great analogy. That's very funny. Either that or you're like, I can't hear you.
Yeah.
You just give up.
You're like, this isn't. Yeah.
Stop trying to tell me. Yeah.
See, at least
Stop
you did
trying
that.
to tell me I don't hear you.
I nod and smile, so they think I
What?
understood, and then I have to just nod and smile the rest of the conversation, pretend that I'm like the mute or something.
Right.
Happens all the time.
Like,
Okay, what's the
Oh, yeah.
story?
I used to get really mad about this, where I've worked with someone for so long, and then they're like, I'm a producer now. And Abby and I have had this conversation about many of my clients who we know who've decided that because they say yes or no to an idea, they're producers. And that is not a producer. If I go, do you want to do it this way, or here's another option or whatever, and you pick one, you're not a producer. So I've had many conversations with many clients about, hey, I was thinking for the credits, it always comes at the end when everything's all wrapped up and nice and mastered and done. I was thinking about saying produced by me and you. Like, no.
that's
Well, I was like,
crazy.
no, you're wrong, and I'll fight you on it. You're wrong.
That's
but
I mean,
I have since.
yeah, the
Go ahead.
nerve. Just like the nerve. No,
It's like,
imagine if you turned around and you were like, oh, you know how you did the vocals on that, and I kind of was guiding you. Can we put vocals like you and Chris? Like, can I be in there? Like, he'd be like, no. Or
Exactly.
She'd be like, no, and you'd be like, yeah, exactly. And you can't be a
Exactly.
co-producer.
Right. Well, I think I've probably said that, but on the flip side, people have gone, well, you played, the 4 notes of the solo. I'm like, yeah, but you don't have to credit me for the 4 notes on the solo. It's cool. I'm the producer. That's enough credit. If I played all the guitars on the record, that's a different story. But if I played a part or something, like it's quite all right. I don't need that credit. I don't need all the minutia. But people, like you said, Abby, you learned, and it makes sense that you learned, and I now take it as a flattery that someone has taken what they've learned working together. And Pete was saying that he's in a band, lives in Italy now, and he was I was in a hardcore band with Pete years ago, and I didn't produce all this stuff, and it was just Pete yelling and screaming the same thing for 40 minutes of music. And then I got into a different band with him where I was producing it and engineering and
Valor?
writing the songs. And Valor, and
Shout out
he was-
Valor!
Yeah, shout out Valor.
shout out. And he was singing, and let's try a different tone of your voice, and you could scream. All the good metal guys that scream don't always scream the same notes or the same tone or timbre. And he started doing that, and then we would get like you and me, Abby, where it would be, okay, let's do another one of those. Let's do a high one. Let's do a low one. I have a, let's do the screamy guy. Let's do the fat guy. Let's do the regular guy. And then we'd stack all these different layers of those voices. And so he was telling me how he was working with this producer in Italy, and recording their album, and it would used to like eat me up and just like, I taught you that shit, and now you're using it without me, and it would get me really annoyed. But now I'm like, cool, like you're taking something that I taught you 15 years ago and using it, and humble enough to tell me, that you're using it, and kind of in a way thanking me for it. So I appreciate that. But there is something else to be said about going, I could do it on my own, because that has happened with someone recently, and it's not good. No,
I said, really? That happened recently?
Oh yeah, they're gonna go do it themselves, and they think they've learned all there is to learn. I mean, I learn literally every record I do. I'm learning something new.
Yeah.
And that guy that I was just telling you about, the +1 hi-hat guy, he said something, and I'm amongst a bunch of other bullshit, and one thing stick. I'm like, let me try that, and honestly, it worked. It was something that was helpful. So now it's something that I'll use, and I'll tell him too. I'm not gonna not tell him.
So does this mean now that he co-produced that song?
Well, that's something. He'll tell every single person that listens to the record, it would have sucked if I didn't tell Chris to boost the kick at 5K. Like, he will too. But anyone who knows him will just go, okay, buddy.
Yeah.
That is so funny.
That's why I don't worry.
Man, I had a really good story before, and now I can't remember it.
It'll come to you.
No, come on. What were we talking about before?
You, I'm sure.
No, before the bathroom break.
I was wondering, like, with TikTok and everything like that, like, there must be a lot of people that I don't even like. Do they go on TikTok and like, I've watched a few TikTok videos. I bought Logic, and now I'm a producer. Like,
well,
it's like the actual, like, no one really, you know what I mean? Like, it's weird because, like, if you're a guitarist, like, you instantly know, okay, you're a guitarist, can play really amazing stuff. Like, engineer is a little bit more confusing, but it's like, okay, I kind of get it. And like producer, like, it's like, I guess it could be easy for people just to be like, wake up one morning and go, I'm going to be a producer and I'm going to start right now. Like
that happened already. And I don't, that's what ruined a lot of the big recording studios. Like we were talking about that studio, the picture before of me sitting in front of the console that was at the studio Manhattan. It went through like 4 different names: Legacy, Right Track, Manhattan Sound Studio, Sound Recording, and then it was just an empty building.
Damn.
But everyone started getting Pro Tools and computers and recording software, and everybody thought they could do it themselves, and everything sounded like shit. And then, I mean, it was like over the course of years, and then it kind of swung back a little bit to where I have a lot of clients that I work with. Excuse me. They record on their own, and I work with them. We go back and forth, and then I finish it, and I mix it, and they get a proper mix. I know that, like the Billie Eilish stuff, they recorded it like in their bedroom, that's whole right. record.
Yeah, that's
wild. But that guy knows how to be an engineer.
Yeah, he's amazing.
I believe somebody else mixed it. I know that that Justin Timberlake song, the one from the Trolls movie, what's the one that I like? Can't Stop the Feeling, whatever. That was mixed in like a hotel room on a laptop, all in the box, all plugins. But that guy knows what he's doing. So I don't think everyone's kind of under that thing anymore, Paul, where they could do it themselves. But I will say this about TikTok: I have found at least 5 or 6 tips on, because the algorithm, it pops up either boobs or some tips on recording. And it's like there's one guy said something about, here's a cool way to mix bass. So I pass it and I go back. I'm like, all right, I always have a problem with my bass. Let me listen to it. And the guy said this thing. I'm like, son of a bitch, that is so smart and so obvious. Why didn't I do it?
Really?
And now I do it all the time. So I'm always learning. Everyone, just like a musician, you're always learning. So for people to think that they've got it all after doing a record with you and sitting there and answering yes or no, I like that, is very foolish.
It's funny because I feel like a lot of brides will come in with like TikToks, and they're like, I want this style. And one of my hairstylists had a bride that they actually like were like seriously like butting heads. It was crazy. I'd never seen anything like it. But the bride just kept playing the TikTok over and over, and my stylist was like, "Yes, I understand the style.
I got it. Yeah.
But I can't do it like her because your hair is not like hers, and it's gonna fall right away."
I was just gonna say the exact same thing. I was gonna answer what you just said. Like, yeah, I understand what they're doing, and that works for her because she's not a ginger.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
But there's I get reference mix. This guy I'm working, a very, very nice guy. He's just a songwriter. He's trying to just do his own thing. He's talented, but he's not, admittedly, not a musician, not a great musician. He just fumbles around, and he'll start off with a song, and he'll go, "Can we make it sound like this?" I'm like, well. Yes, a little bit, but it's a different tempo. It's a different chord structure. It's that application is not going to work here. The same reggae guy. He sends me a reference for his cross stick because that's a big thing in reggae, right? When you take the drumstick and go a rim shot, right? You go across.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And he sends me this thing. Goes, can you EQ the ready? Can you EQ the cross stick to sound like this thing? So I listened to it. He goes, it's got to sound more like a wood block. And so I said, okay, maybe. How can there be something I'm missing that drastic on EQ on a cross stick? He goes, did you automate the snare EQ for when I go to my snare and the cross stick? I said, absolutely not. I don't do that. I'll change volumes, but I rarely change EQs. No need for it. He goes, okay, well, just listen to this. So I listened to it, and it's like a smaller snare drum, a completely differently tuned snare drum. It's got nothing to do with EQ. It's just the way the guy that's playing those drums set up and the way he's playing it and where he's playing it. So, yeah, I know what you're saying, but you're never going to get it unless I make it fake, and that's not going to work. So I hate those, like a little bit of, it's like WebMD for every doctor.
Yeah.
Well, I was Googling it. Every doctor's like, ugh, I'm going to punch you in the face every time you say, I was Googling it and
then the doctor's like, yeah, you Googled it. Oh, that's right. Yeah. And they're always like, why did I go to medical school?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's so.
I'm still trying to remember my story. It had to do with me and you, Chris.
Oh.
Was it with recording or playing live or?
Was it when the sandwich fell out of my face? Was it my keyboard solo?
No, have you seen that video?
I must have. Yeah, I must.
Of us recording, and like Chris is like mid taking a bite of a sandwich, and like he was eating like a ham sandwich. First of all, I never met an adult that eats like a ham sandwich besides Fasulo. And he was taking.
I believe it was an Italian hero.
Okay, whatever.
That's
it was
a very
ham
adult
sandwich.
sandwich.
Okay,
That
and
is.
like the biggest. This piece of ham fell out
No,
of his
lettuce.
mouth.
It was literally shredded lettuce.
was
Did you see how
ham.
she exaggerates?
It fell out of his mouth like onto his like belly. And we got it on video. It was
Wait, can you tell your big listening audience that I weigh 137 pounds?
Oh
so
yeah,
It's not
I mean,
a belly.
Not really a belly. It was like
It's my stomach. I don't have a belly.
It hit him it fell on his sternum. If we want to be politically correct.
My six pack.
His
Yeah.
I'm sorry, rib. It fell on his rib, and it was amazing. We got it on video. But do you think AI is going to take over your job?
No, definitely not.
Why not?
It's just going to become another tool, just like we were just talking about. Everyone got Pro Tools and everyone got something on a laptop. It's just going to become another, like, an easier way for someone to make a demo or something like that.
You don't think that the robots are going to replace you?
It could also be that I don't know enough about it, and maybe it will. I saw that some math guys just figured out every conceivable melody. There was 45 million of them or something like that, with all the notes and all the whatever, all the orders.
That's wild. 45
It is wild.
million?
It's 45 million possibilities, and Bruno Mars steals that song. You know, that's an
wild.
interpolation thing too, and that was his big
Was that the Marvin
lawsuit,
Gaye
and he
one?
lost.
Was it the
He
Marvin Gaye?
lost that.
Or was it?
Sorry?
Was it Marvin Gaye, or was it? There was someone else that had like.
Yeah, Marvin Gaye. There was something else. There
Oh yeah,
two
it was
songs,
the
I think.
Uptown Funk or whatever.
Oh,
Uptown
yeah.
Funk, and there was another song too that he got that for.
Damn.
Forget.
I
But
did.
no, I don't know. Everyone says that the typical answer is there's no soul in that music.
I was reading
From
that it can
AI.
do cool stuff. Like Paul McCartney had that interview recently, and they were talking about the final like Beatles song, and he was talking about how they used AI in the what was it? Get Back, the documentary.
Oh, to do it live?
And yeah, but
For, like-
and Paul McCartney was saying, I mean, it's almost like I feel like I wonder if AI like creating something from scratch, who knows? But like in this instance was really cool because Paul McCartney was like, you know, we were able to go back to an old Beatles song, or like, you know, like the
take John
the Get Back
Lennon's
text,
voice,
yeah, and
right?
John Lennon's vocal and, you know, guitar that were on one track. He was like, it literally was as simple as an AI saying, this is what a guitar sounds like. This is what the vocals sound like. Just
Break 'em
take the guitar out, you know.
Yeah, break them apart. Yeah,
And then it
that-
just,
that's
like-
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's a tool. That's a
Yeah,
great
yeah. But it's like
tool.
not really, I mean, yeah, if it created a song,
right.
it'd probably
I'm
just
very
like give you
curious
an,
to hear that. I haven't heard it yet. No, it's not out yet, right?
No. I
When
think
is
they
it
said it was
supposed to come out?
I think is it end of this year or start of next year? Yeah.
Did you guys watch the Get Back the videos?
I
The
loved
doc-
it.
Oh, it
I
was
wish it was longer.
amazing.
I would have watched it. I would have watched
Janet.
another like 7 or 8 hours
Yeah.
of that.
So I said the same thing. And again, Jenna's always hears me talk, so she's heard my same stories a million times. But we did cry 3 times, right? 3 times through the whole
yeah.
thing. And I started and stopped it like a zillion times. And Abby, I'm sure both of you guys can relate to this, where the first like band argument they were having, it was in like part 1, and I paused it. I'm like, this is amazing, because everyone who's ever been in a band ever with anybody has had this exact conversation, exact situation, and this is the Beatles having it at the
Yeah.
height of their career, not like the Beatles starting off. Like this
Yeah.
is them having the same conversation. It was really weird, and it made me like Ringo more and hate George Harrison.
Really? I feel like it made me actually like, well, like you said, like Ringo more and, you know, George Harrison.
I
whatever,
appreciated
but-
him more, not as a person. He's an asshole as a person, but the playing, because
Well,
he's hardly talking,
Yeah.
and he's just kind of sitting there and letting Lennon and McCartney, like the song, and Harrison, they're just kind of working things out, and he's just like, no, I'm ready to play when you want me to play, and then he'll just sit up and play like, oh, that's Ringo's backbeat right there. It's awesome. Like I forget
Yeah.
how great it is, and he's doing like the weirdest anti-drummer stuff. It's just so cool. It was really cool.
And you're totally right. He was just so like cool about kind of being left out, you know, like but he was never seemed annoyed. He just kind of like maintained this, like, look, like you said, like, I'm ready when you
Whenever
need
you
me,
are,
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah,
You know,
he
whereas other people
recognized
could've-
that the
Yeah.
other people in the band were much more creative in that band. But there was that moment where he's like, I'd like to be singing the...
Yeah.
I fucking hate his voice
Octopus's
so much.
Garden. Aw.
Ugh, the moment I hear a Ringo song.
Aw,
I do like...
love- They're gonna put me in the movies.
oh,
They're gonna make a big star out of me.
I don't know.
No.
I
Act
think I'm with-
naturally.
I think I'm with Chris on that one.
Ah, I love some of those songs. But I will say, I feel like that documentary made me have a whole new respect for like Paul McCartney, like more than I
Yeah.
ever
Oh yeah.
did. Like I always loved him, loved John Lennon, and watching that, like you can see like Paul just desperately trying to keep everything together, and he's like
Yeah.
the perfectionist, and John Lennon's like, shut the fuck up, dude. You know what I mean? Like just getting
that's-
frustrated, and I was just like, man, this is crazy. Like just you know, like I felt like really I felt sorry for Paul McCartney. I felt like sometimes like, you know, people are like, oh, he's so bossy, blah blah blah, but it's like, no, he just wants it to sound the best that it could sound. And I
that
can
was
relate.
that was the first moment when I that was one of the moments that got me choked up.
Yeah.
Was when Lennon comes in from, like, he hardly speaks for the first entire
Yeah.
part one,
Yeah.
but then he comes in the next day when they wrote Get Back, when they're waiting for Lennon to show up.
Oh my god.
And then he comes in, they're all kind of sitting in that circle, and Lennon's talking, you know, he pulls out like the heroin or whatever he pulls out on camera, and he's talking about the night before, and he was all fucked up. And McCartney's like, well, maybe we don't need to talk about that right now while the cameras are rolling.
Yeah.
And Lennon like snarks at him, and McCartney is like not amused at all. And he's got his hand under his chin, like covering his mouth, and he's turned away from everybody. And you see him like welling up. Like you see him getting so angry, and like the realization of losing his friend
Yeah.
and his band. It was such a weird, powerful moment. Do you remember the part I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I have a theory. I want you to tell me what you think. I have a theory that you know how they're talking about this big show the whole time, putting on the whole goal of the thing is they're going to put this big on the bridge. They're talking about water and all this like crazy shit, and then they end up doing the rooftop thing.
rooftop.
But every idea that they talk about, it's awesome when he's like playing Let It Be or something, and the manager is like in his ear talking about maybe we can. He's like, dude, shut the fuck up. You know, it's just like, you're like, dude, he's writing Let It Be. Shut up a minute. You know, but the whole every idea he poo poos. That's it, not doo-doos. He poo-poos every idea and kind of like, nah, I don't know. And I kept getting the impression that he had stage fright. Like he was terrified of looking foolish after taking such a break and after being off stage for so long. And it looked like to me that he had stage fright, even up to like when he walked outside to do that rooftop thing. And then there's the moment they're playing. They do Get Back first, right? I always ask. They played Get Back first, I think. And there's a moment, like, you know, Abby, like I said, that you dance on stage, but it's like these involuntary moves that you make, like when you're going to accent something or when you're done singing a sentence, you pull back from the mic and you do something, you react to the music or whatever. And he does that in Get Back when he goes, Get Back, Jojo, the first thing, and he like jumps back and he smiles like he went from being scared to being so happy. And it's like my favorite moment in the whole thing. And it got me like really emotional. Like, oh man, it's just like the best feeling. Like he just like let it all
that's it. I think so many people can also relate to that feeling, you know, and then it's like, boom, you know, like that beginning first 60 seconds or 45 seconds. And just, I feel like I remember certain shows being so nervous that like for the first like minute my voice was shaking. Yeah.
And then you forget you're nervous because you get into it. And that's exactly what that moment is. And it's such and you don't know it just because we've seen that Get Back video a zillion times. But knowing the lead up and the context to everything,
So true.
seeing that same moment is like, wow. It's such a good moment. So
it is. That was amazing. Remember we watched it was like released, was it on Thanksgiving or the day after? I think it was the day after. And we
watched it like that week, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was the
My
day
Yoko's right here. Oh, when he says when he says or somebody says someone's gonna say don't Yoko me or something, don't be a Yoko. That was fucking crazy.
Oh my God.
Then.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. Like I think we stayed up till like 3 a.m. like
it was
watching
awesome.
all of them. So
I tell everyone who hasn't seen it and thinks they like the Beatles, like it's not fluffy. It's
No.
like it's very behind the scenes. It's a lot of, and people who love the Beatles that aren't musicians, like, oh, this is boring.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
what-
there's also
you
like
don't
you feel
understand,
that,
like you're watching them figure out Get Back, and
but you also
and,
like see like the tension and like you feel
Yeah, it's
it.
amazing.
Yeah. I wonder if
Amazing.
like normal people though, not normal people, you know, non-musicians I think there's maybe a little like difference to musicians because everyone
course.
who's ever been in a band has been in this situation, you know? And then people who haven't, so like you said, like, oh, it's boring, it's just like them arguing or whatever, but it's like once again, like you said again, like this is the fucking Beatles,
Yeah.
like right, this
Right.
is fucking Paul McCartney writing "Hey," you know, "Hey
right,
Jude,"
George
like-
Harrison drops his guitar, like, you fucking doofus.
oh my god.
And then Lennon's like, you know, just trying to get him to say word, like watching how Lennon comes up with words. That's why he's got such weird lyrics.
Yeah,
because
he's just like a
all-
spaz.
Yeah, he's all stoned and high and hallucinating, just saying random shit, and
Yeah.
it's cool. It's cool, like
It is.
like no other cauliflower, right? Doesn't he say cauliflower in something in the way? And like you hear George Harrison playing all out of tune and shit.
I know.
It's just so weird.
He really
It's
does
so-
like I feel like he really tries to take it to that like experimental world and I always loved George so much when I was younger and I feel like after watching that it definitely changed my
He was being a
view.
bitch. He was being a bitch.
He was like I feel like also like Paul McCartney would make like really good suggestions and ideas and he would kind of just like roll his eyes, you know? And
Right.
he's like also not confrontational, so he'd be all quiet and like
Passive aggressive.
passive aggressive, which drives me nuts. I'm like, just say what you want to say, you know?
Yep.
Like it's just it was amazing though. I think we cried multiple
Oh,
times
yeah.
during it.
Yeah.
and-
Yeah. I thought Janet was going to get bored, honestly, but she was into it. And again, I was narrating the whole thing, right? So, but
I
we did
love
pause
that.
a lot. What?
I said I love that.
Yeah, but like we didn't step on anything. We paused it, we backed up, like we
Yeah.
made sure we didn't miss anything. And it wasn't like an interesting fact. We were just talking about like we're like, hold on, I got to digest that for a second. Do you understand? Like they're eavesdropping on them right now, and it's just
It's crazy.
it's cool.
Such a cool documentary. And then him talking with what's his name? The producer dude, what's his name?
George Martin.
Yeah, George Martin, right?
Oh yeah, but then I saw what did I see with him with Paul McCartney with the who's the oh my god, why can't I remember his name? Red Hot Chili Peppers producer dude.
Oh, Rick Rubin.
Rick Rubin.
Rick Rubin. What was that? With him and Paul McCartney.
Oh, that was just like that Hulu series, right? And they went through.
Oh, I think I'm like
Oh,
intertwining
right,
them.
right. I forgot. I never watched
That was
it.
really
That
cool.
was really
too.
cool.
That was
Yeah.
so cool. He was kind of like showing, you know, it's there. I feel like just Paul McCartney is, fuck man, he is like.
You ever see the thing with I think it's on the Sound City documentary? No. Yeah. The documentary with Dave Grohl,
Dave Grohl.
when they bought the console from that studio in California, and then they did like a collaboration record. It was him and Corey Taylor from Slipknot. They did something with Rick Springfield. It was him, Dave Grohl playing drums, Chris Novoselic from Nirvana, and then McCartney playing like a soapbox guitar or something. They played on one of the award shows, but they
Yeah, I
just
remember
made
that.
up a song, so they're fucking jamming with Paul
with
McCartney.
Paul McCartney.
And then Paul McCartney's in there with Butch Vig. He was producing, and they're all like in the control room, and Paul McCartney's like, "Oh, just cue me in, tell me when to whatever." And Dave Grohl goes, "Yeah, Butch, tell Paul McCartney what to do." It's just like the best fucking moment. Like they're all cracking up,
That's
and like Dave Grohl's
amazing.
just sitting in the back taking it in. That's why I like him, because he knows what he knows where he is.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's so
like
awesome.
imagine yourself being in a room with Paul McCartney.
Just to segue into this, one thing I just wanted to ask you guys, and it doesn't have to be when I was in the band. I mean, that's preferable, but which do you guys have a favorite like Wise Girl gig or like place you guys played and you were like, oh my god, that was like
Yeah.
awesome?
Yeah. Mine's probably the Knitting Factory
Me
one.
too.
The one I
And
didn't play on,
honestly,
yeah.
Paul, we only played 2 shows together, right?
We did. Well, we did
Was it
Eileen's
just
Grocery.
1 or 2?
We did Eileen's Grocery.
The Union Square
Union
one.
Square.
Right.
Did we do
Fontana's.
Fontana?
No,
What, Abby?
Fasulo wasn't it.
Is Janet still there listening?
Yeah.
She's a
Yes,
good
that's why
one.
she's awesome, because she's just laughing
Yeah.
at these dumb stories.
What up, Janet?
What up,
I'm
Janet?
surprised you didn't make me tell the other story.
I wanted to just for you guys to say like something like a cool Wise Girl Live story or something. But the conversation.
Well, I will say this. Me and Abby are both OCD, bad. And we both have pretty decent musical ears. And we had a
my
lot of...
ears are amazing. Okay.
I'm trying to not sound arrogant. Jesus, learn some
I
humility.
just feel
Abby,
like that's
for crying out
listen.
tears.
No, I don't think I'm amazing at that many things, but the 2 things are my ears are insane, and then makeup. Those are my 2. Like everything else in life, I feel like except like friends and having is quite boring to me. I love animals too, but. That I pride myself in those 2 things because I'm not that person that's good at everything.
Okay, fine. Abby's got a great ear and mine's okay. So it was very, very difficult to... I like rehearsing a lot. And before I go to a rehearsal, I rehearse a lot, like you, Paul.
Yeah.
If we're going to... The times we've been pulled out of retirement... the moment you say we're doing a show in a month, every day I'm playing through the songs because I don't like looking at my guitar when I play. I don't like feeling unprepared or being worried, so I burn it in all muscle memory.
Yeah.
And nearly every bass player and drummer we've played with does not adhere to those same set of rules. So Abby mentioned the first bass player we had, and I mean, talk about a bad ear. Not even knowing like if your instrument's out of tune, or not even realizing.
Not even
like,
knowing if you're playing the wrong notes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they would play like a blues jazzy bass line in the middle of this punk rock tune, and it was not cool. It was like it's just nothing made sense. It's like, dude, just play the record. If you have such a great ear, just play the record. That's what everyone wants to hear. Everyone being us, just play it. Why do we have to say? And then we'd experiment with new things at a show, and then we went through drummers like, well, I think it should be like this. Well, that's cool, but you heard the recording, so just play it like that. you know, why not just play it that way? And when we make some new songs, you could do whatever you'd like. So that live thing has I don't remember playing many shows where I'm confident. I will say the show where Adam played and Paul played were good. I didn't worry.
Yeah.
And
well,
both,
I think they were both like very similar personalities in the sense of like, no, I'm not going to be the one fucking up. Like,
no, that's exactly what I was going to say. They're both, and it's funny. I remember, me and Abby keep mentioning our hiatus. We had like a 2-year period where we had a big brawl, and coming back to play in the band, I was very uncomfortable and nervous, and it got to the point where there was new guys in the band. I think Paul was new, right? That's where I met you, Paul, right?
yeah, but you had met him before that.
Yes, but playing with him.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you were already, Paul like came in the band after me with the other guy playing guitar, and then Adam was there. So when I came back, it was all different people. It's just me and Abby, who had not seen each other, and
Jane
then two
and
new
Paul.
guys.
Gene and
that
Paul.
What?
Jane and Paul.
Right.
Yeah.
And then just two new guys that have already been playing. Like you guys have been playing shows. So
Well, no, Adam hadn't been. He was pretty. He was kind of
new
just
too?
filling in. Yeah, because Harry
Whatever
was
it was,
doing a
it
ton
just-
of other stuff.
my role, you were talking about in the other podcast thing. I mean, the other episode, you talked about my role, and I think you were looking for music director. You kept saying producer or live producer also, but music director. And I coming back into the band, I didn't want to come in and all of a sudden start being that guy. So I was just sitting there and we're playing stuff. And then me and Abby, I don't know if it was at rehearsal or afterwards, she's like, why the fuck aren't you saying anything? Could you just do what you do or something like that? She's like, just fucking do what you do. Like, why are you so quiet? And once that was said, it was like right back there. It was cool.
That's
and
cool.
It was what?
No, I was just saying that's cool. Like, that's cool
Yeah.
that you just
Paul's
kind of
like,
like...
that sounds like my wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it just made, and then like playing with that lineup was great. Like Adam, Paul, everyone had the same like, what do you want me to do? What, like, how does it go? Let's play it the right way.
And Union Square.
remember-
Union Square.
Oh,
was
I have
awesome.
a little.
That was that one.
Oh, yeah. But it's funny because Chris, I feel like, is like the master of guitar. So I feel like, I guess maybe the different personalities, but I feel like it's hard for me to think of you ever going into something and being like nervous, you know? I feel like
Well,
it'd be
I
the
didn't-
opposite. You'd be like, oh, I could be playing like 4 times more technical, you know?
Well, he
I didn't wanna
realized that he was
overstep.
replaceable.
What?
Sorry,
I said he realized that he was replaceable. You.
but I wasn't
No.
at the end.
Of
Was
course
I,
not.
Abby?
No.
All right. Was I a good guest?
You were
The
good.
best.
I feel like we start the best
The best we've had ever so
Yeah.
far, right?
so far.
Yeah.
Besides
I,
me.
I
don't
tell my
know-
mother she's the best mother I've ever had.
Yeah, I don't know what the last riff-raff, you know, talent we had, but this was awesome.
Hey!
It was fun. Thank
No,
you
thanks,
for
Chris. Thanks
for having me on, and thank you for the kind words. I do appreciate it, really.
Of course.
And
Abby's
it's
a
all
very loyal friend.
it's yeah.
I
It's
am.
all true. It's the truth.
I feel like I am a loyal person. That's one thing.
She
I
used to
found.
get mad, honestly. No, you can't work with him. That's my producer.
Hell yeah.
Before we let you go, Chris, is there anything you want to plug or you want to just, you know, let people know about what you've going on or something they can look up and
Well, you should definitely go look at, listen to the Wise Girl record because it really is an amazing record. The Meteor Fright stuff is great also.
Wait.
And Chris did Meteor Fright for the
Yeah.
8 people that heard it.
That was a fun one.
It was fun. And
Fasula.
we mentioned Valor.
Yeah, Valor.
I don't even know if you could find
Valor.
Valor.
Oh, no.
Okay. Do you get much time just as we're wrapping up to play guitar? Because
Just on the first time I played guitar in a few weeks was for your theme song.
no way.
What? We
I
took
did
you
just
out of
play-
retirement?
I did just play bass I worked at a day camp part-time over the summer and they asked me to play bass and I don't think I've ever played bass outside of the
You
studio.
worked at a day
Wow.
camp for the summer? You really can't take time off, can you?
No. It was good networking with adults, with parents,
That's
with
great.
boss. And anyway, they found out I was a musician and the director of the camp is in like a jam band kind of thing and his bass player couldn't come to play something with them, so they asked me to play. I'm like, yeah, I guess, because everyone freaking plays guitar. So I'm like, sure. It was cool. It was fun. It was fun.
That's awesome.
That's
I love
cool.
that.
I got some good rock and roll pictures of me playing bass though, with a pick.
We want to see him. Yeah, with a pick.
Was that who you were rehearsing with when I was texting you? And I was like,
Yes.
why aren't you answering me? And
Yes.
you said you were rehearsing, and I'm like,
Yes.
with who? Who rehearses anymore?
Oh, she's sending you pictures right now.
Yes, can't wait.
By the way, that's me shouting 1, 2, 3, 4 at the beginning.
Oh, that is?
That's amazing. We got the pictures. I love your neat, like green, dorky Converse.
That's to match my car.
Oh my God, you were matching your shoes to your car? Of course.
What? Well, that's why I have them, but the colors of the camp are green and white, so they worked for 2 occasions.
Oops.
Oh, here we go.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you
Chris.
so much. This
Oh.
was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. I would say thank you so much, Chris Fasulo, for being our second guest on Rock and Roll Weirdos. And thank you, Janet, for patiently listening and
for patiently taking care of our dear friend Chris.
exactly.
She does take good care of me.
And thank you for the theme song. Oh my god.
Oh my God, thank you. It's amazing. Even though I sound like a man, but thank you.
If the vocals aren't loud enough, tell me, but I think they're loud enough.
I think that's what we're going to do the rest of the night. Just keep listening to that over and over again.
I listened. How many times we listened to it when it was done? Like 30 times.
Oh my
It's good.
God, that's amazing.
Oh, wow.
New song. New song.
New
New song.
All right, gang.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks, Chris.
We love
see
you.
you later. Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
1, 2, 3, 4. Rock 'em all weirdos, rock 'em all weirdos, rock 'em all weirdos.